Right then, I think it's time that we have a conversation about Bruno Fernandes. Bruno is about to take over as Manchester United's new captain. I don't really see any other candidate that comes close to Bruno Fernandes in this regard. And since joining Manchester United, his output, his reliability, his durability, his passion has never been questioned. And the Portuguese midfielder, for me, is an example of what a Manchester United player looks like. Now, people always want to bring up, oh, but he's a bit petulant. So what? So what? The guy wears his heart on his sleeve and he gives 110% every single week. Oh, he loses the ball a lot. So what? No one creates more chances on a football pitch than him in admittedly a poor United side. I don't know if people just think it's a fashionable thing to try and dismiss something that's obviously good and be like, actually, I'm cleverer than you. This isn't actually that good. No, Bruno's great. He's putting up Cantona level numbers. All right, he's not as cool as Cantona. That's it. In terms of their impact on the pitch, it's Cantona level of impact. Yes, Cantona wore his collar up and said mad shit and had his chest out and walked around like he owned the gaff. Bruno's not as cool as him. But in terms of being an effective footballer, he's in the same bracket. And to illustrate that, in 124 Premier League games, he's registered 44 goals and 33 assists, which is ridiculous numbers. And especially for a guy that plays in midfield. Yes, it's an attacking midfielder, but he's a midfielder at the end of the day. He's won Premier League Player of the Month 4 times in 3 years at the club and has been our most consistent performer since the day he arrived all the way back in 2020. And even while Maguire was captain, it was really interesting to note that Bruno was basically captained the club on so many occasions. And I think the trust that's been shown in him by Eric Ten Hag sort of really illustrates and highlights that. On the pitch, his quality has made him a raging success. One of the few raging successful transfers that we've had. And I think there's been some very good transfers under Ten Hag, but I think a lot of United transfers in their first season can look good and then it starts to tail off. Bruno's just delivered. For 3.5 years, he's absolutely just delivered. He is creative. He is effective. He is a lethal attacking midfielder that is constantly evolving his game. Can he play deeper? Can he go and do this role? Can he retain possession a little bit? Yeah, he can, actually. He can do that. What about, can he play off the right-hand side and maybe give... Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can do that. Can he play as a... Yeah, he can do a false 9 as well. We have seen him play all those different roles this season. When playing as an 8 and his game has been adjusted, he plays a really, really stable, reliable game while still maintaining a brilliant chance creation output. This season, we saw him score 14 goals and 13 assists in all competitions. While his role was changing, while he didn't have a striker leading the line, while he was adapting to a new manager, do you hear him complaining? No, you hear him saying, I want to play every single game. That's all you hear from him. That is literally all you hear from him is like, I like football, I like to play every game. That is a brilliant attitude to have, and I don't think enough people talk about how good his attitude is like that. Yeah, he throws his arms up in the air. Do I like it? No, I don't. But I'll put up with it because of all the other stuff is flawless about him. Whatever he's tasked with, he does it. He doesn't be like, oh, I like to be the number 10 actually rather than a number 8. Nah, just get some of it. Oh, my game's affected playing off the right-hand side. You ever heard him say that? No, you've not. He just goes and plays on the right-hand side. What about on the left-hand side? I'll play on the left-hand side for you. I'll play up front for you. I'll play in deeper for you. Bruno Fernandes just wants to play football. Some players will go, I will play in net for you. And I think he would. And I don't think he'd question it. I think he'd go, all right, cool. This is what we're doing. And the best bit about him, availability is the best ability, right? It doesn't matter how good you are, Anthony Martial, if you never actually get on the field. Bruno is reliable. He is durable. The guy is never injured. He's always available for selection. He went through an unreal amount of games. Never asks for a break. Never lets the quality drop. Sometimes he has looked tired, but the output's still been there. His injury history literally shows one absence, and it was an illness. He's literally missed one game. One game in 3.5 years. I think he loves the game, and I think he can probably guilty of be pushing himself a little bit too hard for club and country. He started 58 out of 59 appearances this season for us. These are the qualities of a Manchester United captain. The durability and reliability. You can't make someone captain if you're not sure they're going to start. Bruno Fernandes, you know he's starting, and you know he's available, and you know he will go through the pain barrier. to put a shirt on. And I think the most important thing about Bruno Fernandes being given the captain's armband is it really does mark a new era for Manchester United. David De Gea has moved on. The final remnants of Sir Alex Ferguson's playing staff, a new captain under a new manager, and Ten Hag has started to mould the team towards doing great things. And he's doing it in his own way, entirely in his own way. He's bringing in players that can beat his drum, that can play his tune. His ruthlessness has led to Cristiano Ronaldo leaving. And the domino effects of this and that interview with that fucking Wally Piers Morgan are going to be so vast. I don't think we understand the chain reaction that's been set off in place to see what happens in the Saudi League right now. But all on the back of Erik Ten Hag basically not having it, Cristiano Ronaldo's tantrums, and telling him to fucking sling it. De Gea's been replaced. Maguire he's definitely lost the captaincy. It looks like he's on his way out the door. The decision on a new captain marks another huge decision that Ten Hag will be making. He's made so many in his first year at Manchester United. The only one that hasn't paid utter perfection dividends was the option to take Jadon Sancho and go and let him spend a few weeks in Amsterdam getting his head right. And actually, we might have actually seen an improvement in Sancho since he did that. We have no idea knowing how bad it might have been if Sancho had been played through that. Bruno being crowned as the leader of the dressing room will raise the standards. I think it shows failure is not acceptable. Maguire may have been sacrificed for that, but for the greater good. And I want to talk about, does he complain too much? Now, Roy Keane complained a lot, right? Thing is, you wouldn't call Roy Keane complaining because there's a stoicness to the way Roy Keane complained. And there seems a little bit of wetness, is the only word I can think of, to the way Bruno Fernandes complains. It's a bit more whiny. But ultimately, they're asking for the same thing. They're asking for performance. They're asking for standards. They're asking for improvements. They're trying to lead on the pitch the way that they know how. Roy Keane wasn't perfect. Roy Keane might not work in this era of football. Roy Keane might not work when he's demanding higher and higher and higher standards quite aggressively out of players. Now, Bruno Fernandes has his whole way of leading, and I think he does a pretty good job doing it. He will be the first player to try and level up the club again. He will never be outworked. I think when the performances aren't working out, sometimes he can probably let the occasion get the better of him, but I think he will always work hard. And the moaning, I think you have to look at the moaning. And there's a way of doing it. Like Manchester United have had a team that always moaned at the referee. You can remember Andy D'Urso getting chased around by Beckham, Keane, Stam, screaming at him. Now, is that seen as a bit more manly way of doing it? Bruno Fernandes is a different character to that. And he talks differently and he acts differently. That doesn't mean that he's not trying to push the team in the exact same direction. And all that matters is that the team respond to him. And we will see whether they do or not. I think they respect him. And that's all that matters. Overall, I think Bruno becoming the captain is the right decision. There's nobody else stands out above him. He is the best. He is the most reliable candidate to take it on. I think other players like Lisandro Martinez, Varane, Casemiro, and maybe even Rashford have got leadership qualities, but not to the degree, not the very obvious choice that Bruno is. And maybe it's just a nice idea to have 4 or 5 leaders in a team that are all demanding the same exacting standards. I don't think that's a negative. And I don't think the armband would change that for the likes of Casemiro or Varane. Or maybe even Marcus. Hopefully we get to see Bruno Fernandes lifting trophies, wearing that armband. And hopefully the improvement is obvious. Does Bruno's appointment change anything within the team? Do you expect things to just continue as normal? Do you think he will now be given license to sort of put pressure on his teammates to try and raise the levels, to try and improve extras, to try and, what tangible changes are you expecting with Bruno Fernandes as Manchester United captain? Let me know in the comments your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.